The Valar and the Maiar can sound like two dusty lists of impossible names, but once you understand them, Middle-earth stops feeling like a map with magic sprinkled on top. It becomes a world with a spiritual architecture. That architecture explains why Gandalf is powerful but still afraid. It explains why Sauron is more than a dark lord with a ring. It even explains why the greatest powers in Tolkien's world so often refuse to solve the story by force. So here is the simple version. The Valar are the greatest spirits who entered the world to shape and govern it. The Maiar are spirits of the same ancient order, usually lesser in rank but still far beyond mortal nature. This video will cover broad Tolkien lore from the Silmarillion, the First Age, and the Lord of the Rings. Nothing here depends on long quotations, but it does reveal the hidden identities of several famous characters. Before there was Middle-earth, before stars, seas, mountains, or elves, there was Eru Iluvatar. He is the one true creator in Tolkien's mythology. The Valar and Maiar do not replace him, and they do not stand beside him as rival gods. Eru creates the Ainur, powerful spirits who exist before the physical universe. They are not born into bodies. They are minds, wills, voices, and personalities brought into being by the Creator. Then comes the music of the Ainur, the great beginning of the story. Through music, the Ainur participate in a vision of what the world can become. Each spirit contributes according to its own nature, its own understanding, and its own love. This matters because Tolkien's universe begins with harmony before it begins with matter. Creation is not just an explosion of stuff, it is a theme, a design, and a drama that free beings can either serve or distort. Melkor is the first great distortion. He is originally the mightiest of the Ainur who enters the story of the world, but instead of adding his voice to the design, he wants the design to bend around himself. That is the first clue to how power works in Tolkien. Evil is rarely pure invention. It is a gifted being taking what was made for harmony and forcing it into domination. After the vision of the music, Eru gives the world real existence. This created universe is called Ea, meaning the world that is. Some of the Ainur remain outside it, but others enter the world and become bound to its fate. The greatest of those who enter Arda, the earth within Ea, are called the Valar. They are the powers of the world. They shape seas, raise mountains, kindle lights, nurture living things, and oppose Melkor's ruin. This is why people often call the Valar gods. The word can help at first because they are vast, ancient, and associated with natural powers. But it also creates a problem because Tolkien is not writing a simple pagan pantheon. The Valar are not ultimate creators. They cannot make souls from nothing. They cannot overrule Eru's deepest design. Their greatness is real, but it is delegated greatness. A better word is stewards. They are sub-creators, rulers, guardians, and servants. Their authority is enormous, but it is still authority under a higher creator. That makes their restraint important. When the Valar do not simply smash every evil as soon as it appears, it is not always because they are lazy or indifferent. It is often because force can damage the very world they are trying to protect. The Valar are not all the same kind of power wearing different costumes. Each one expresses a different part of the world's order. Manwë is associated with the airs, the winds, and rightful kingship. Varda is linked with the stars, light, and the hope that looks upward. Ulmo is the Lord of Waters, and he is one of the most active friends of Middle-earth from afar. Aule is the master of craft, stone, metal, and making. Yavanna is bound to growing things, forests, harvests, and the life of the earth. Orome is the great hunter, a figure of wild roads, horns, horses, and the discovery of the elves. Namo, often called Mandos after his halls, keeps the houses of the dead and remembers the dooms of the world. Nianna is grief, pity, endurance, and the wisdom that comes through sorrow. There are others as well. Idamo of dreams and visions, Este of healing rest, Vaide the weaver of history, Vana of youth and blossom, Nessa of speed and dancing, and Tulkas of strength and laughter. They sound like mythic symbols because they are mythic symbols. But they are also persons with choices, loyalties, and limits. After Melkor's fall, 8 are especially honored as the Aratar, the High Ones of Arda. They are Manwe, Varda, Ulmo, Aule, Yavanna, Namo, Nienna, and Orome. That ranking tells us which powers stand closest to the deepest order of the world. Melkor once stood above them in raw might. But his fall changes the meaning of might itself. He spends his strength trying to possess everything, and in Tolkien, that kind of possession makes even a mighty spirit smaller. The Maiar are easier to misunderstand because the category is so wide. A Maia can be a messenger, a guardian of waters, a servant of Avala, a hidden guide, a queen among elves, a fallen fire spirit, or the dark lord of an age. They are not mortal beings who learned enough magic to graduate into heaven. They are Ainur too. Their origin is before the world, even if their role inside the world is often more focused than the role of the Valar. Think of the Valar as the great powers of governance and world-shaping. Think of the Maiar as spirits who carry out, embody, or specialize those powers. That does not make them harmless. A smaller angelic being is still terrifying when measured against ordinary flesh. Sauron is the most important example. Before he becomes the Lord of the Ring, he is a Maia associated with Aule, the Vala of craft and making. That background matters because Sauron's evil is not random destruction. He loves order, skill, planning, and control. When he falls, those gifts turn toward domination. He does not merely want to burn the world down. He wants the world arranged under his will. The Balrogs are another dark example. They are not just monsters from deep places. They are corrupted Maiar, spirits of fire and terror, who followed Melkor and became wrapped in destructive forms. But many Maiar remain faithful. Eonwe is the herald of Manwe. Ilmer is associated with Varda. Ase and Yunin belong to the waters under Ulmo, with Ase showing the dangerous unrest of the sea and Yunin showing its calmer grace. Melian is one of the most revealing examples. She comes to Middle-earth, loves the elf king Thingol, and becomes queen Andoriath. Her presence makes a hidden realm feel almost enchanted from the inside, protected by wisdom older than the elves themselves. The wizards, or Istari, are Maiar too. Gandalf is Olorin, a Maia connected with wisdom, pity, and encouragement. Saurman is Kurumo, associated with craft and knowledge. Radagast is Iwendil, close to birds, beasts, and the living world. This changes the Lord of the Rings in a quiet but enormous way. Gandalf is not a human magician with a long beard and good instincts. He is an ancient spirit sent into Middle-earth in a limited body. The limit is the point. The Istari are not sent to conquer Sauron by matching power with power. They are sent to advise, kindle courage, organize resistance, and help the free peoples choose rightly. That is why Gandalf's greatest victories are often moral before they are magical. He wakes up courage in Bilbo, Frodo, Aragorn, Theoden, and the people around them. He does not make them irrelevant by doing everything himself. Saruman fails because he stops believing in that mission. He studies the enemy so intensely that he begins to admire the method. He wants order, machinery, knowledge, and command, and those desires pull him into a smaller echo of Sauron. Radagast is stranger. He is not simply a joke or a failure. Tolkien leaves room for the idea that his attention turns too much toward birds and beasts, but that same attention still belongs to a real part of the world's care. The Blue Wizards are the great mystery. Tolkien's thoughts about them changed over time, but the important point is that they too belong to this pattern. Maiar sent into history with a mission, operating far from the main stage of the story. So, what is the cleanest difference between Valar and Maiar? It is not good spirits versus bad spirits. It is not gods versus wizards. It is rank, role, and scale within the same created order of Ainur. The Valar are the highest powers who enter and govern Arda. The Maiar are lesser spirits who often serve, accompany, or specialize under them. But both groups are older than the world, and both can act through forms that mortals only partly understand. That is why the categories can surprise us. Sauron and Gandalf are both Maiar, but they are not the same kind of person morally.
Melian and a Balrog are both Maiar, but one protects a hidden kingdom while the other becomes a terror of flame and shadow. The label tells us origin, not virtue. It tells us what order of being someone belongs to.
It does not tell us whether that being has chosen humility, service, pride, or domination. The same is true of the Valar. Their power does not make them automatically simple or interchangeable. Aule can make the dwarves out of impatience and love of craft, then submit his work to Eru. Melkor uses greater native power to refuse submission at every turn. In Tolkien, the question is never only how much power a being has. The deeper question is what that being believes power is for.
Once you understand the Valar and Maiar, Middle-earth feels less like a world where magic randomly appears when the plot needs it. The magic has roots. The roots go back before time, into music, will, service, rebellion, and stewardship.
It also changes how you see Sauron. He is not the opposite of Eru, and he is not equal to the Valar. He is a fallen Maya, terrifying because he is ancient and brilliant, but also limited because evil in Tolkien always shrinks itself by trying to own everything. It changes how you see Gandalf too. His humility is not weakness, it is obedience to the shape of his mission. He wins by strengthening other people instead of replacing them. And it changes how you see the Valar. They are not absent because Tolkien forgot them. Their distance creates room for history, courage, tragedy, mercy, and choice. If the Valar solved everything directly, Middle-earth would become a story about overwhelming force. Instead, Tolkien gives us a world where the highest powers work through messengers, warnings, pity, friendship, and small hands at the edge of disaster.
The Valar are the great powers of Arda, mighty stewards under Eru. The Maiar are their lesser kin among the Ainur, spirits whose roles can be humble, hidden, glorious, or terrible. That is the key. Tolkien's highest beings are not measured only by raw strength. They are measured by harmony with the purpose of creation. So Gandalf's restraint, Sauron's tyranny, Melian's protection, the Balrogs' terror, and the Valar's distant authority all belong to the same map. It is a map of power under judgment. Thank you for keeping the Black Quill Society company in the archives tonight. If this little expedition into immortal job titles earned its candlelight, subscribe, pull up a chair, and I will see you in the next one.